So I'm about to plant those. So if you want
The
to save
beans?
that for last.
Okay, come in here with me. Act like you love me and you're part of this homestead. Hi guys, welcome back to our Maine homestead. We realized that we need to post the rest of our greenhouse videos, which we do have planned to do sometime soon, so be on the lookout for that. But today we wanted to take you guys through the greenhouse, show you what we've got growing right now in the greenhouse. We're going to take you out to the garden. We're preparing to put some plants in the ground. Eddie will go over all that because he is the veggie garden guy here on the homestead. But yeah, so hope you enjoy kind of just seeing what we've got going on here. And I don't know what else. Ta-da!
So yeah, so I've started some melons here, 2 or 3 different types. Some from seeds that I saved last year from melons that we got from our Amish friends. Then I've got some cucumbers here. Some butternut squash. We only had a few seeds left, so we're just gonna plant what we have and see what happens. And then these are more cucumbers, 2 different types. We're planting pickled cucumbers and then slicers, like you would eat on a salad. These are all pepperoncinis. I love pepperoncinis. I've never been able to get them to grow very well here. I have moderate success with any kind of pepper, but pepperoncinis have never done good, so I'm going to plan on planting them in the greenhouse. I have a bunch of them, so if we have some failures, hopefully at least we get some. And then back there, I've never done this before. Today we're going to start planting beans from transplants. I've never done that, and then I've never transplanted from corn. I know big farms start their corn and then transplant the seedlings. So I'm going to give it a shot. Our Amish friends have done that. I see them do it all the time. They transplant almost everything to get a jump start, but we'll see how it works. But I'm going to plant corn transplants and then fill in the rest with seeds, and so that'll give us a little spacing. These were planted about 3 weeks ago or so, so that'll give us a little bit of time over harvest period, I guess. So anyway, more peppers. Maine, all of these are pepperoncinis. Yeah, we like this. And
Explain about the pumpkins real quick.
huh?
The pumpkins that have come up in the pepper pots.
Oh yeah, so I had a few pumpkin seeds left, so I planted some pumpkin seeds. After about 3 weeks, they never came up. And so when I was transplanting these pepperoncinis, I used the same dirt and just transplanted the pepperoncinis into the pots that had the pumpkin seeds in them. And then after about 4.5 weeks, these pumpkin plants started popping up. So hopefully I can separate out the roots and we'll just plant them somewhere. I think I have a few more seeds, so I may plant some seeds with them, but it was just kind of an experiment. I've never planted any of those type things in pots, and there you go. These are bell peppers. More peppers, jalapenos back there. The smaller ones are seeds that I saved that we got. Some jalapenos and some plants from some friends last year, and so I saved some of the seeds, and they're growing, but you can see they're a lot smaller than the other seeds, but they were planted at the same time, so I don't know kind of what that means, if anything. But and then there's 2 small tomato plants. I'd have to look to see what kind they are. But all of these, pretty sure all the peppers, or most of the peppers, are going to go in the greenhouse, just because peppers like hot, and it'll be hot in here. It already gets hot. It's been over 100, 110 in here, and it's 90. It was before the middle of May, so kind of unusual anyway. But all those will be probably in the greenhouse. These are squash and zucchini, one or the other. I have all this written down, but I don't know off the top of my head. And then these are 2 tomato plants that I've started about the end of March, and I've transplanted them twice. Now they're in these big pots, but they'll go in the greenhouse as well. But you can see they're noticeably bigger than those 2 back there. And these are tomatoes as well. I believe those are the same types as these. We have Amish paste tomatoes, some slicing tomatoes, which are kind of the big beefier ones, And then I've never grown these before either, but I'm going to try to grow these in the greenhouse. These are tomatillos, so to make like salsas and things like that with. But they really like hot. They're like a Mexican or South American type plant, as far as I know. So so obviously they like to grow somewhere where it's hot, so they're going to stay in the greenhouse. And then we're about to put out beans. These are two different types of bush beans. Don't know the name of them off the top of my head, but I started these about 2.5 weeks ago, I guess. They may be a little too grown. Got some roots. You can see they're kind of root bound, which is not the best in the world, but these are going out in the beds we just prepared. We have hops plants that are growing outside. They're doing really well. Time to put the trellis up so they can climb. But I had an extra hops plant that was in a pot that overwintered in the greenhouse, and it came out really fast, and so I decided, hey, I'll try it. So I planted it in the ground in the greenhouse and just kind of walled it off so I'd know where it was and kind of hopefully protect it a little bit. And you can see it's growing up. It's already over 4 feet tall. And so I've never done this, and I didn't try to read or do any research to find out if people actually grow hops in the greenhouse. I doubt they do. I don't know. Anyway, so there's 2 vines. Don't know if you can see them. There's the top of one, and there's the top of the second one, and then there's a third one coming up, but I don't know if it's actually gonna climb or not, or maybe it's possible the plant doesn't have enough energy for that one to grow because it hasn't grown very much. But if it does, I'll wind it around the same thing. You have to be kind of careful. So outside, I wouldn't wind 2 vines around the same trellis rope because you want air to get to it. 2 is probably fine actually, but you wouldn't want to put 3 or 4 around the same rope because you want to be sure it gets good ventilation. But anyway, so I rigged it up so it would climb all the way to the top of the greenhouse, and then I put a horizontal rope a couple of times, and so by the end of the summer, or by the time it's ready to start, I would think, based on what happens outside, of course it's a different environment in here, so I don't know, but it may go all the way across the greenhouse, which they'll grow kind of 30 feet high. I don't have a 30-foot high trellis, but they'll grow up to 30 feet high and then go horizontal and keep growing. That's how they send out their shoots. But you probably can see that something's eating the leaves on this plant. It's not bad. I've had this happen, and I've found the caterpillars that eat them outside on the plants, usually later in the season. I don't know if that has anything to do with why it does look like that, but it has some diatomaceous earth on it. The last couple of years when I've had something eating the hops plants outside, I've put diatomaceous earth along with picking any caterpillars that I could see, because they'll hide under the leaves, and that's helped save the plants. So we'll see how that goes in here. I think the big key in here is going to be keeping it watered, just because it gets so hot in here, and we're going to get shade cloth to shade it, and we ventilate it when the sun's out really bright to keep the airflow, but it still gets hot. So I'm watering it way more than I would water most plants now, and so far so good, so we'll see what happens. Okay, so I put up logs, and this is probably part of the planned last greenhouse video that I never got done last year. Anyway, I put logs up about 1.5 feet around the base of the greenhouse. You can see it's not really even, but I just got these up yesterday. So the idea is to put raised beds in here. So when you build raised beds, most of you probably know, but you don't want to build them too wide that you can't reach in and access the entire bed, because it just makes things a lot harder. So the plan is to put a 2-foot wide bed here, so roughly to about right here, and then have probably 1.5 to 2 feet, and 2 feet is usually a lot more comfortable. 2-foot spacing, like walkway there, and then have a 4-foot bed because I can stand on this side and reach 2 feet in, and stand on this side and reach 2 feet in, so I can access it. And then on the other side, another 4-foot bed. So best, obviously haven't gotten that started yet, but best I can tell, there'll be a 2-foot bed, and then 3 4-foot beds, and then another 2-foot bed on that end. And the plan is to grow cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, and probably melons in this area. And I've never done this before, so we'll see how it goes. But that's kind of the reason, one of the reasons we wanted a greenhouse, was really to provide that hot environment, even during the summer, lengthen the growing season, but also provide a hotter environment, so maybe I can get my peppers to grow.
So here in the flower garden, right in front of the solar panels, I have transplanted some peonies and some daffodils that I got for Mother's Day. The peonies are popping up here. The daffodil bulbs, I don't know much about them, but I suspect that I won't see much from them until next spring. So I am probably going to be waiting until after the 1st of June to transplant any of my flowers into the flower bed, just to hopefully avoid any late frosts. Last year we had a frost, a hard frost, oh gosh, like middle of June. So that was very unfortunate for a lot of our plants, like tomatoes and things like that. But yeah, so I've got several flowers in the greenhouse that I'm going to show you that I will get transplanted in a week or so. But before I get to the greenhouse to show you guys the flowers, I wanted to take you into Eddie's hops garden. He also has some yarrow and valerian growing along the back side there, closest to the shed. But we've got several hop spines that are doing their thing. And Marie, you getting some wawa? What a big girl. Yay, Emmy. Okay, so I've got some gray stripe mammoth sunflowers all in these pots here. They're doing really, really well. I've also got some snapdragons, my marigolds. These are my 2 pansies that have survived all of my transplanting and trying to kill them earlier in the season. I didn't do a very good job of taking care of them, so I had 11 seeds to start with, and these are the 2 survivors. Marigolds, I had some sweet peas in here. I don't think that they're doing anything. They have kind of surpassed their window of germination, but I do have some seeds germinating in a sunny window inside the cabin, so I will transplant those in a couple of days whenever they start sprouting. I've got zinnias, more snapdragons, and then this was a verbena plant that I got as a free gift from the local nursery for Mother's Day. And just off of where Eddie's transplanting the beans right now, we do have sugar snap peas growing along the trellis there, and then fava beans growing to the left of the trellis area. Eddie had 7 fava beans, and he planted all 7, and then all 7 grew, and they're so beautiful.
So I'm transplanting 2 different types of beans. Again, I've never done this. Like most everything else on the homestead, we've never done things before, but we try it. This is kind of a purple seed bean, and then this is more of a traditional, but both of these are bush beans. Obviously, there's no trellis here. But I had about 20 plants or so of each kind that came up in the trays, the seedlings. And so I'm going to transplant the plants far down as it'll go, and then just fill in the row with seeds to obviously come up and kind of provide a little bit of a later harvest. Obviously with beans you can get a continual harvest for a period of time as long as you keep picking them, which we will hopefully keep picking them as long as we can. So that'll just give us a little bit of a later push. Again, haven't done this before, but that's kind of what I'm expecting. Hopefully that works out. So we prepped the rows just by obviously tilled up the ground. Then I just formed about a foot wide bed with roughly 2 feet between the sugar snap peas and this row, and then 2 feet between this row and the row of the other kind of beans. Dug a trench after getting most of the weeds out. Dug a trench and then filled it 3/4 of the way up with manure, and then now I'm digging a hole, and you can plant these every 3 inches ish. And so I'm just coming out by hand and just making a hole and getting it down to the top of the soil roughly, and then just pushing dirt and manure and throwing out rocks, of course. Plenty of rocks here, but just doing that all the way down. So I don't know how many plants I ended up with, but just plant all of them, and if there's any room left I'll put some seeds in. If not, I may plant seeds somewhere else. I've got some pole beans that I've planted in the past, and bush beans are just so much easier. I don't know really that much about them, if you get more from pole beans versus bush beans or whatever, but pole beans, just for me, they're just not worth the trouble of trying to trellis them and get them to grow up. They're kind of like sugar snap peas. Unless you spend some time with them, they grow up and then fall over. So you have to kind of get them so that they're weaving in the trellis, and you have to catch them at the right time, which I never seem to have the time to do that this time of year.
Something else at the end of our garden that Eddie has already planted and is doing well are radishes. So I think we're pretty close to being able to actually harvest these. Yeah, Eddie was just telling me that you can actually plant those every 2 to 3 weeks, keep harvesting them, because they're such a quick grower. You can just plant and plant and plant and harvest all season long.
So you can see my corn is a little bit root bound, probably in here a little long, but when you plant corn, especially small amounts, you're supposed to plant in 4-row blocks just to ensure as good of pollination as you're going to get. So I've taken my corn starts and planted them across the rows. So I went up 5, 5, and if I think I have enough to go 5, 5, and then I'll plant the rest of the plants on each continued row, and then I'll put my seeds continue on down the road. That way all of these will probably mature at about the same time, and then they'll pollinate. So that's the plan anyway, but hopefully they will grow well. And that's pretty much it.
So thanks for tagging along on our greenhouse and garden tour for May 2022. There's, as always, still a lot more to do. Everything is a work in progress. And we have some pretty constant projects going on even in the garden. So thanks for following along. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment in the comment section below if you guys have any questions or feedback. And as always, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell when you want to be notified that we have posted new videos. Talk to you guys later.